Hello everybody, welcome back to CNS Corvettes in beautiful sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's your Corvette buddy Lyle here to talk to you about more interesting, exciting, and really interesting stuff today. Do I have a topic for you? I think it's time we need to have a serious conversation about Corvette as its own brand. As I often do in preparing for new videos, I sketch out ideas in a notebook that I keep on my desk. And then as that idea evolves to the point where I feel I have a complete thought, I start making just a brief script of just kind of bullet point notes that I want to cover in the video. And I've been doing that with this subject now for about a month and a half. And with the introduction of the ZR1 and now the ZR1X, it's really solidified my opinion on certain things. The median price of a new Corvette, if you take the starting price, the base price of the Stingray, the E-Ray, the Z06, the ZR1, and the ZR1X, and you mash them all together, the median price of a new Corvette is $135,000, which makes it a great deal. However, the dealership experience at most Chevrolet dealerships is not equivalent to that price of entry. So I think that GM and Chevy in particular are kind of at a crossroads. They need to determine what they're going to do to make the dealership experience, the maintenance experience equal to that price point. And we're not even done introducing Corvette product yet. You know, we've got the SUV that's supposed to be coming out in 27 or 28. We've got the Grand Sport that was recently seen testing. And even Tony Roma, the chief engineer of Corvette, who took over from Tad Juchter, hints that the ZR1X isn't the final boss, that we may be very well getting a track-focused hypervet to compete directly with the new Mustang GTD and in that crazy price range, which would probably be the long-rumored Zora. So now you're talking about like 18 different versions of the Corvette that are going to be for sale at the same time. And it's not just paint and appearance. I mean, these are drastically different vehicles. Should Corvette remain part of the Chevrolet brand, or should they do a Dodge versus Ram kind of thing where Chevy becomes its own thing, or where Corvette becomes its own thing, I'm sorry. Historically speaking, General Motors has been pretty reticent to spend a lot of extra money on Corvette maintenance, promotion. They build great cars, but they've always been very cognizant of the fact that these cars sell in fairly limited numbers. They don't make the volume of an Impala or a 1500 Silverado. So they've always tried to keep their investment to a minimum and make their existing dealership network good enough for the Corvette. And when the Corvette, a decade ago, the Corvette wasn't too far removed from other GM products. You know, if you could change a water pump on a Silverado, you could change a water pump on a 1997 Corvette. Today's car has so many unique systems and maintenance requirements that it requires dedicated staff to handle only that car. We've seen too many people whose cars have been, you know, especially since the C8 came out, dealerships dropping the cars off the lift because some kid who's normally the oil change guy put the car on the lift and didn't know how to do it correctly. Or do the oil change incorrectly on a Z06 and blow up the motor on a 3,000 mile car, which happened here locally. I won't mention the dealership. So here's my plan. And if anybody out there in this audience of mine is in the GM network, has anything to do with GM dealers, please listen to me on this. And I really want your input in the comments below, or even reach out to me directly through email, because I think we're at a nexus point where GM and Chevrolet are going to have to do something to make the customer experience equivalent to the car and the cost of buy-in. The way I would do it, I would say that dealers that sell a certain number of Corvettes and or have a certain number of Corvettes in for maintenance every year should have a dedicated customer area, dedicated Corvette parts counter, and most importantly, dedicated technicians and 1 or 2 work bays in that dealership that are only for Corvette. I don't think it's realistic for GM to invest in a bunch more land and a bunch more construction to have standalone Corvette dealerships. I just don't see that being possible. Let's take a look. Here's a couple of pictures of what a modern GM customer, a Chevy customer area looks like. You got this one. Here's another one. I mean, they're passable, but it looks like the waiting area at like a small municipal airport. This is not luxury. This is not coddling your customer. Now, let's look at, here's a McLaren dealership. Look at their customer waiting area. Here's a couple of pictures of what Porsche provides its customers. And then you got this one. Now here's really a crazy one. There's a dealership here in our town that has a built-in movie theater, an entire room full of massage chairs, a breakfast and snack area, and an entire restaurant that is Le Mans themed for its patrons. And that is a Ford dealership. Not Ferrari, not Maserati, Ford. Compare this set of pictures to the first couple I showed you here, and you can see the disparity between the Chevrolet experience and virtually everybody else who sells a half-decent vehicle. If you have a customer area that is dedicated to Corvette owners, Corvette customers, and you have a parts counter where you can really put some of the cool Corvette merchandise that Chevrolet makes on display, touch me, feel me, love me kind of things. So I actually asked AI to come up with what that might look like. And this picture, I think, looks pretty cool. And this is what I would envision for a Corvette customer area within an existing Chevrolet dealership. I also believe that at a minimum, there should be somewhere between 3 and 6 base Corvettes that are strictly loaner cars. When you bring your Corvette in for service, you should get a Corvette. I don't think they should be putting you in a Geo Metro or something like that. It should be an equivalent car. I would also love to see some ongoing customer support in as much as the hobby. Now, I know that there are dealerships who put money into clubs and support them and stuff, but I'd like to see more active support. You know, you can have meeting rooms, events and stuff specifically for your Corvette clientele at these dealerships. And I'd also love to see them get more into the high performance driving education support. You know, right now in our area, when you buy a Toyota Supra or a GR 86 or whatever they call that little sports car they make, you automatically get one full weekend at Sebring for high performance driving education. That should be standard for these cars because these are extremely capable vehicles and the drivers should be educated in how to handle them responsibly and extract more out of them and have more fun. So that's my thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? How do you see this playing out? How do you see this evolving? Put it in the comments below. I'm going to be watching the comments when this video goes out and I'll be chiming in as I can. I'm really interested in what you all think, but guys, I really think it's time that Corvette and Chevy take a step up to match the quality of the car that they're producing so that the customer experience is just as amazing. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing what you have to say.